Okay, it's going to take a few minutes. Setting up. All right. Whitney, are you there?
I'm here, although I see you as frozen.
Interesting. So it looks like we're on. Also looks like I cannot use my phone. All right. Hi, everybody. Trying to work out some technical issues. So we are live. We are streaming from Zoom. So this is my first time doing this. So forgive me if there are some tech issues. Hi, Sarah. Okay, I've got a lag on my end. Do you have a lag, Whitney?
I don't know. I hear you, but you're frozen.
Sure. Okay, I'm still frozen. Yeah, there's some sort of a lag on my end where I say something or you say something, then I hear it 10 seconds later.
Ah, no, not on my end. It's clear as can be on my end.
Okay. 1 second. Try this. I don't know how to fix this issue.
I'm zero help.
Anybody out there? Anybody in the universe? I've got a lag on my voice and Whitney's voice. I'm streaming from my phone from Zoom to YouTube. Any tech savvy folks out there? Am I still frozen?
Yes, you've been frozen the same way since right before it went live.
Strange.
You, Judy? What? I mean, I know I set up.
Okay, I was watching Dead to Me, so you guys probably just caught that. All right, let me see. This. I do not know how to fix this. It just keeps on replaying the 10-second. It's like a 10-second lapse. So I just keep on looping. And you guys, I can't see me. You guys can't see me. So.
Oh, hold on. You're not frozen now.
Okay. Okay. I had to go back to my Zoom app. Okay. Now I wonder if I can. There we go. Awesome. Sorry, guys. You've got two not that tech savvy ladies running the show. And this is my very first time using Zoom from my phone. Well, using Zoom to YouTube at all. So this is all new to me. So now I know what to do. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pull up the chat on my laptop. So if you guys see me looking to my right, I'm just checking out the chat. And all right. So Whitney and I wanted to come on tonight really just to say hello. A follow-up from our last live, which, what, about 2 weeks ago, I guess?
Something like that.
2 weeks ago. We wanted to go live before that, but then I wasn't feeling well. And so we both had some time tonight, and we really just wanted to come on to chat, to answer questions. I wanted to address a few things that have come up in a lot of the comments on some of the videos, the shorts that I've been doing. And then I think we may pull some cards if we're feeling up to it. We'll see. So let me get the comments up. Hopefully this won't cause any issues. Actually, I don't think it'll allow me to do that. So, okay, so I'm trying to learning. So then I don't know how to look at the chat since it's a Zoom to YouTube. when I go to try to pull up the video, it won't allow me to do that. So, that is.
Again, I am zero help.
So yeah, we need to be able to look at the chat. What can I do here? Let's see. Can I view you? Well, and that's the whole point of going live, is to be able to look at the chat. But I feel like this is Mercury retrograde that we're in, but that's not going to happen until the end of the year. Guys, we'll get this worked out, I promise. What I have learned, I'll share this, is going through this transition and major transformation, which I think I just realized today how major this transformation actually is, and doing it publicly, is that you have to have grace with yourself and with others, and a sense of humor. The humor, I've had several comments about, she's going crazy, guys, twin flame journey. It's like, no, guys, I've always been like this. I've always been funny. I've always liked to crack jokes. I always like to let loose. You're just getting the real me now. This is authentically me with, the mask off. This is me in my entirety and my authenticity. I think if I could, I would make people laugh full time. That's what I really love to do. So when I'm doing silly dance videos or silly videos, that's just me sharing my heart and soul with you. And, before, I think I felt like I had to kind of put myself in a box, and those were my labels. I'm a twin flame teacher. I'm a twin flame guide. I'm a divine feminine. This is what I do. And now I've jumped out of that box, and some people are feeling scared because of my words. Some people are feeling angry. Some people are feeling, I think, victimized. Some people are feeling sad, heartbroken. So I think there's a lot of feelings, and then other people are feeling free because I'm sharing my journey. But this is my journey. This is my experience. This does not mean that this has to be yours. I think Whitney and I are both on the same page. It's very important that everybody have their journey and have their experience and follow their path and their heart. You're just watching me, live in action, following my heart and my path. And, several of the comments have also said you're denouncing the twin flame journey. I wouldn't say I'm denouncing it. I'm just veering off onto a different path. I don't think as a human we can really say anything is definite. We change our minds. We're malleable. Our thoughts are malleable. Our belief systems, change as we learn and we grow and we expand. And then something that makes sense suddenly doesn't make sense anymore. So I wouldn't say that I'm denouncing it. Just for me, I don't fit into that box anymore. So I honor and respect where everybody is at. And when I believed in it, I believed in it. And this is what I think I said to Whitney earlier today. It's like, think about a couple who they seem happy, you see them on social media, maybe they renew their vows, everything looks good. And suddenly in 6 months, they're getting a divorce. And people, sometimes friends of the couple might feel like, well, we feel like you lied to us, you cheated us. And the couple's like, well, no, we felt that way when we felt that way. When we renewed the vows, we really felt like we were going to be together forever. I never in a million years could have predicted that I would be sitting here and feeling this way. So when I said what I said, I meant it at the time. It's just that my feelings have changed. My perspective has shifted. I have outgrown the box that I was in. And I think that's the best way for me to explain this to anybody who's having questions is it just doesn't work anymore. That box became too small for me. And there wasn't enough room for me to grow within that box. Things started not making sense to me. I had to question things that I didn't want to question. Would have been a lot easier for me to stay on that path and on that journey. A lot easier, and in probably every sense of the word. But sometimes we have to be bold, and sometimes we have to step outside of the box. And it's not even just the comfort zone, it's the box that we've been placed in or we've put ourselves in. And it takes courage, and it's a bold move. And I knew not everyone was going to be appreciative of it. I knew that. Whitney and I talked about this. You know, I had fear, I was scared, I was nervous, but at the same time, this had been building and I knew that I had to share. So yeah, I can either sit here and be authentic and vulnerable with you, or I could have kept the mask on and pretended. And that would have been to me 10 times worse, a million times worse, because then you're not getting authentically me, and it's not good for me and it's not good for anybody. So wherever you're at on this journey, I commend you for following your path. It doesn't have to mean that just because I don't believe this path is good for me, like this doesn't line up or match me or fit me anymore, that it's not for you. Many of you have said, you know, I don't, the external person doesn't matter anymore, but this is an internal journey for me. Fantastic. You know, I have strong feelings about putting yourself first, and first and foremost, getting right with self. And that's what this is all about anyway. So as long as you end up on that path and you're not obsessing about this individual, you're not obsessing about whether you're going to end up with them or you're not, or what phase or cycle you're in, then I think it can be healthy. I just think it's unhealthy for a lot of people. And if what I'm saying helps somebody see things from a different perspective, then so be it. And if what I'm saying is triggering to somebody, then so be that. But just a few words that I wanted to share. And I really wish I could figure out how to see the chat box, guys. I'm not, I think I maybe could if I switch over to YouTube, but then I'm going to freeze again. So I might do that while I'll have Whitney share a little bit, because I do want to check the comments. I do want to respond to you guys, and we do want to answer questions, and, you know, we'll answer whatever questions you have. So I'm going to let Whitney share a little bit.
So I think that is true, Sarah, is that it's huge. Anytime we step away and start questioning a foundational belief system, I think we forget how huge that is, and we forget that there's a grieving process that goes through that. That's been true for me anytime I've gone through any type of foundational questioning, because there's a comfort in the certainty. There's a safeness in sticking with what has always been true for you. And when you start to question that, it's like, holy shit, where are my legs? Like, you know, how do I do this if all the things that I have based all of my actions and my life on, what if those aren't what I thought they were? What does that mean for me? And so there's a huge amount of courage, particularly when you've done it the way you have. But there's also like room required to grieve the certainty, because to step into the uncertainty is a really big deal, and it's frightening. It's super frightening for me. I'm very much a Taurus. But this is very much an individual journey. And as we said last time, I've never really been a big follower of the twin flame thing, which is why it's interesting. It popped up yesterday. An article popped up, and it was talking about how necessary the twin flame journey is for the evolution of consciousness at this point in time. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. So, you know, what's the reasoning behind this? And it was very much around the fact that there's so much unconditional love in the twin flame journey. And so that sat all night. There was more to it than that, but that was the big piece I took away, was that we really desperately need that kind of love now. And I was like, okay, so unconditional love, very true. Like, we're supposed to have it, at least for our children. So many of us do not. Even there, we place conditions on everything. So I can see where unconditional love would absolutely raise the consciousness of the planet. Got it. However, I don't think, and this is where totally, this is what I walked away with, is that I think there's a distortion between unconditional love and unconditional tolerance. And that's what has stuck out to me when I've viewed people who were, in relationships with, or had been in relationships with the person they said was their twin flame, was that they tolerated a lot of behavior that under any other circumstances they would claim as unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they put up with that in these relationships. And that's the part that was really, really interesting. I was like, okay, so if we can stick with unconditional love and love someone, yet still have healthy, outlines, healthy boundaries around what we will or won't tolerate, because you can love somebody completely unconditionally and still say, this is not good for me.
Yes.
This is not tolerable for me. And so I think that's what's gotten confused and what has made the twin flame label of less appeal to me, because so much of it seems really unhealthy. The people on the journeys seem to be in continual anguish. There's a cycle of anguish, and that's not appealing. I've been there. I don't want to stay there.
Right.
So that was really my big thing, was going, oh, okay. So if you take away, like, I'll tolerate anything in the name of this thing, then okay, great. Unconditional love, like, love you to the moon and back, but I'm going to love me too.
Yes.
That seems to be the thing that's missing, is the love of self.
Yeah.
Because if there's love of self, then there are certain things you'd say, I'm sorry, this is not okay. Like, I'm going to love me first and love you still, but love me enough to say no.
There's so much that I want to say. It's bringing up so much. First of all, let me say this, that by me following my path, this is me loving myself first. This is me putting myself first. So I just want to say that to anyone who's questioning, my motives or my path or anything. This is me choosing myself and loving myself. And I vowed to do this the first time I walked away from the twin flame. I said, I'm choosing myself. And I've done that ever since. I won't apologize for that. Now, when it comes to the person, I can look back on so many things, and I have. That's what I've done. I've looked back on so many things that occurred and said, I cannot believe that I allowed that to happen. I cannot believe that in the name of unconditional love that I subjected myself to that, or that I put myself in that position more than once, or that I just tolerated certain behavior from that person because, well, it's my twin flame. And I think that's very dangerous. I think it's dangerous. And I do think that there are some, we'll call them counterparts, that are narcissistic. There are some counterparts that are downright abusive. And for a long time, I thought, well, no, it can't be your divine counterpart if they're abusive. But again, these are all just labels. Even narcissistic, like, that's all just a label. Okay. But just for the sake of explaining things, we'll use them. And I think that a lot of people have confused, this idea of unconditional love with, like you said, I have to tolerate unconditional tolerance. I have to tolerate all of this behavior, that they're with somebody else, or that they're not calling me back, or that they disappear for months at a time, or that they run and then they come back. And it's like, no, this is unhealthy behavior. I don't care which way. You can slap any label on it you want. It's not healthy. And I think that's what scares a lot of people, is the recognition that, wait, maybe I have been putting up with things that aren't really healthy. This whole cycle of runner, chaser, you run, you chase, this is not healthy. It's not good for your nervous system. It dysregulates your nervous system. It's not good for your immune system. It's not good for your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, your psychological health, your physical health. It's not good for any of it. And I think, this concept of, the twin flame concept, it's your soul, one soul, two bodies. It's your soul in another body. Maybe that's like the best way to kind of handle this idea, because then it's like, let that other you go off and live their life and do what they're going to do, but don't subject yourself to any abusive behavior. And this is where I feel really strongly about it, because both Whitney and myself have been in unhealthy relationships before. So we understand the dynamics, we understand the cycles. And this twin flame journey started looking really unhealthy to me. It started looking a lot like that unhealthy, relationship or cycle that I had found myself in several years ago. So again, everyone knows their truth and their journey, but this is my experience. And I also question whether human beings are even capable of unconditional love at this point in our consciousness. Are we even capable, even with kids, are we really capable of that? I don't really know that we are yet. So, when we kind of, and it's like, that's another term that's been thrown around, unconditional love. It's like thrown around. It's in this article, it's in that article. What does it really mean? Are we really capable of it at this point in our consciousness level?
I'm going to go with no, but we can.
Me too.
We have moments of it, maybe, but as a sustained emotion, as a sustained state, no. Because as much as I love my children, there are times when I feel less loving because of my mindset and their behavior. Doesn't mean that I don't love them. Means I definitely like them less at that particular time. But there are times I like me less. So but I mean, even if you look at religious history, we can't even fathom a God that doesn't have conditions. So I just don't think we're quite there, but it's something to strive towards. But if we're going to strive towards it, can't we love ourselves first? Because we seem to love ourselves least.
Yes.
And we try to give away what we refuse to take for ourselves. And it's very difficult.
Wait, I have to say that again. We tend to give away what we refuse to take for ourselves.
Yes.
I think that's major, because that's another term, self-love. Are we really doing it right? Are we really capable? I think we're on our way, but I think we flounder. And what you just said was so honest. Here's the mother saying, hey, I'm an imperfect mother, and sometimes I don't love them unconditionally. That's really vulnerable to say. Even just to admit to yourself, but to admit it to a huge audience, that's another thing. So I think we need to get really raw and honest with ourselves. I think that's how you heal. And like we've said before, this twin flame journey, it gives you an opportunity to throw the ball back in their court and say, well, they're not healed. I am. I did it. I did that. Right. So it was like, oh, well, he just needs to heal. No, I needed to look at myself. Why was I putting up with this? Why was I tolerating this? And the moment I stopped tolerating it, everything shifted for me. And I don't know if everyone can believe this or not, and it doesn't really matter, but I am happier now than I was 6 months ago or a year ago. I'm happier because that weight of wondering if what shoe is going to drop next, or is he going to come back, or what's going to happen, is gone. It's gone. And
it's really hard to live life in limbo. And I feel like for a lot of people, that's what happens.
Yes, sometimes for decades.
Yeah, you put a large portion of your life on hold. You refuse to make major life decisions. It's just like living in limbo, and that's kind of an icky feeling.
Yeah, and again, imagine your nervous system living in limbo and what that does to your sympathetic nervous system, and basically deregulates your parasympathetic nervous system so that you can't rest and digest, and you're in constant fight or flight, whether you know it or not. There's things that I've heard from the pain that people have been through on this journey and what they tolerate. And I see the cycles being tolerated again and again and again and again. And, like I say, if you have yesterday in your hand, right, if you have the old, you can't welcome in the new because there's no room for it. Your hands are full. And so a healthy person who wants to come into your space is like, I don't know. They seem pretty, obsessed, or they seem pretty, occupied over here. They're not, something will seem off to that person. If it's a healthy person, it's going to be a red flag to them. It doesn't matter if you just say, oh, I'm holding space for my counterpart. By holding space, that's energy. That's energy you could devote to yourself, to giving back, to being of service to your kids, to your family, to your parents, to your pets, to anybody and anything. And instead you're holding space for that person who may not even be thinking about you, who could be off, married to someone else, or just, who knows, maybe they moved countries. I don't know. But if they, the way I look at it is, if they are not wanting to be in your life, then that should be a clear green flag for you to exit stage left. This person said, I don't want to be with you. Okay. They don't want to be with me. Let's not make this about, oh, well, they didn't really mean it. What they meant was this, or I just think that's so unhealthy, and it's so dangerous, because you can make up every reason why. And then you end up, you can end up in serious trouble going down that path of trying to stay in communication with somebody who doesn't want to be in communication with you. Right. And then it becomes, stalker. And so it's like, I just think that there's an opportunity here to bring more awareness to this label and this journey and this concept. And I know that my journey, the person is not a bad human being, but I deserve more, I deserve better, and I will ask for that for myself. And I encourage everyone to ask for that for themselves. And by me putting myself first, that basically meant that person had to go. This is not a decision I came to overnight, not by any means. This has been about 1.5 years in the making, long, slow process. But there are many people feeling the exact same way. Many people that are leaving the label behind, that are moving forward. And if that person comes back, great. You can figure that out at that point in time, at that juncture in time. But for now, choose yourself. Whatever that means, however that looks like for you. I promise you can't go wrong if you choose yourself. Never.
I agree with that, but you've also got to acknowledge that this whole journey for you has been a journey that gave you a lot of gifts. And so for every single person who is in this, wherever they fall on the spectrum of belief, and whatever their particular situation is, this is their journey, and they're getting whatever out of it that they're getting, whether it is beneficial or not, whether they are able to look at it with honesty or not. All their journey. It's all up to them. And all you're trying to do is share what yours looks like, because that's all any of us can do, is share our particular truth. If that sparks something for someone else, fantastic.
Yeah.
But hiding your truth benefits no one. And you wouldn't have been ready to look at this in any particular way until you were ready to look at it. Everybody's at a particular point on the journey, and some are closer to where you are. Some are closer to where you were. Some are going to be leagues ahead of you. Everybody's in their own particular spot, and you're just sharing where yours is right now.
I'm basically putting a drop on the map and saying, here's where I am. Meet me here if you want to. But if not, there's some cool places over here to explore. There's some cool places here and here and here. That's it. That I think this is just, I honestly don't think I've ever been this honest when it comes to work, and anything I've done, because you're searching for yourself, right? You're soul searching, trying to find yourself. Who am I? What does this mean? What do I do? And I'm at the place where things are starting to finally fall into place, even though it seems like things are falling apart. Wasn't it Pema Chodron, the Buddhist monk, who said, she wrote a book, like, if things fall apart, or how things fall apart. It's like, yeah, that's what's happening. It looks like everything's falling apart, but everything's actually really being pieced back together in a much more constructive way, and a much more peaceful manner. I encourage everyone to remove anything that doesn't make you feel peaceful, anything that doesn't, even if it's my channel, if it doesn't bring you peace, then let it go. It's like, find your path. And I think we're our own healers and our own teachers. And I think it's, dangerous to look at someone else's path and then kind of internalize that as your path. And I think it's easy to do that. We have all these gurus out there, and I've always wanted to be looked at as more of a guide. Like I'm a guide, I'm a teacher, but if anyone ever tried to slap the guru label on me, no, I don't, I am a human and this is my path. This is my journey. And I'm definitely here to guide and I'm here to share and I'm a storyteller. But I don't think anyone has the power to tell us what our path is. I think we have to figure that out for ourselves. You can have somebody show you and open doors, but you're the one walking through it. I think that's a Buddhist saying, like the teacher can open the door, but the student has to choose to walk through it. So that's what Whitney and I are doing. We're opening a door here and we're saying, would you like to come in? It's pretty cool in here, but it might be cooler for you right there.
Yeah, it's also scary as hell to walk through any door.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing, everybody gets to decide. And I tend to go with what things feel like, because we're all vibrational beings. So the things that make me feel yucky, I tend to turn away from. And the things that make me feel full or content or happy or really excited, those are the things I move towards. Because the happier I am, the happier the whole wide world is. Because again, we're vibrational beings. So if what I'm putting out is happiness and joy, excitement, then it's a ripple effect. It impacts everybody in my household and impacts everybody else around us, impacts the way I interact with strangers out in the world.
Yeah.
Like it is what moves me to generosity and compassion. And it's when I'm doing things that don't feel good that I am a very contracted being. I operate more out of fear or scarcity instead of my true nature, which is, like joyful and loving. And it's what all of us are. We are just like vibrational clumps of love, like basically.
Now I just have a picture of clumps, like
you are. We're just clumps of love. Sometimes
I love that. We've got to quote
like
that.
if love and fear are opposite ends of the spectrum,
Yeah.
I move towards the things that make me feel more like love.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Which means I have to love me too, because it's when I'm trying to give to other people and trying to meet their needs without meeting mine that I feel resentful, which feels like ick. And so I have to take care of me and my own needs, my own like internal space, my own whatever, so that I can help others do the same thing in their own lives. And most often those others are my kids. And so when I am an expansive being, they benefit huge from that, which means that they can go out and shine a light. Like that's what we do. We pray every night, please let us be a light in the world, because that's what we need. We need lights in the world. And it's really hard to be a light when you're a clump of fear and unhappiness.
In constriction. Yeah. But that's exactly what fear feels like. It feels like constriction. And that's actually how I started to feel like, even as you said that, I could visualize it inside of me. That's how I started to feel about doing twin flame readings or the twin flame journey. I started to feel constricted. I felt angry. I mean, if I listened to my body said, this is no longer in alignment with you. You can no longer continue. This is not sustainable. It was not sustainable. And I actually think I think what I have going on, there's some physical illness, but it's also, right, we're all energy. It's energetic and it's emotional. But I also think, and it's ascension, there's a couple things going on, but it's also, for me, I feel like it's the old debris leaving my body. It's all the gunk that's been stored up because I literally got sick right on top of each other. I got sick, then well, then sick again. So to me, this is the old stuff, the old storyline leaving and exiting. And it's like gunky and it's old and it's like built up and it has to go. It has to be cleared here. So it's not an enjoyable process, but it's necessary. It's an exit. And then from there, I get a clean slate and a starting point. But I feel the expansion. I feel the fullness, the creativity, all of that starting to come back. And it's like I had been creatively stunted for like 6 months there, where I was like, I don't even know what to talk about. That's not like me. And could some of that have been, due to the ascension process? Yes. But I think a large part of that was my own individual, unique experience and what I was going through, and knowing that what I was doing was not in alignment anymore, but I wanted it to be in alignment because that's easier. Like, it's what I'm saying to the haters out there. I'm like, hello, it's easier. It would have been so much easier for me to stay on the path that I was on. Much harder to take a detour, much harder to turn left rather than just stay on the straight path. But that's what I had to do. So, for anyone out there, and, we're in holiday season now next week, rapidly approaching it. It's challenging for many. We talked about that on the last live, but I know this is challenging because most people have encountered some sort of a loss up to this point in their life. So you might be feeling all kinds of ways. A lot of emotions will be bubbling up at this time. We have a supportive new moon. I have to look at, so that would be a new moon in Sagittarius coming up. Or is it the new moon in Scorpio? No, we just had that.
I think it's in Sagittarius, the 23rd.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, new moon in Sagittarius as we shift into Sagittarius season, fire season. So that's going to be actually very supportive. And I'll talk more about that on Patreon post, and we might do a video on that. But, right before Thanksgiving, that's going to really support us and allow us to embrace gratitude. But also that fire energy is going to kind of light that fire in us again, like Whitney was talking about, that light, the lighthouses that we are, the lanterns that we are, to figure out, okay, where am I needed in the world? And for me, it was like, I'm no longer needed here. I'm needed here. Like, I was needed in a different place. And my services are better here than they were before. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but for a year and a half, 2 years, I did not show my face. I've been showing my face more now than ever before. This should be proof that this is it's a transformation, and that it's healthy, and that it's good. And that, I want you guys to see my face. I was literally in hiding before, and I wasn't comfortable behind the camera. Now I want to be behind the camera. I want to share my face. I want to interact with people. And so it's just, the transformation from eclipse season is happening for everyone. It's just a matter of where it's happening in your life and how you're going to handle it. Mine happened to be public. There's no way around that, guys. I couldn't have, had I tried to just stay where I was, I think I could have gotten really sick. I do.
But also the way that your clients would feel would not be the same as before.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
There's a field, and this energetic field shifts and changes as we do. But when you're not coming from like you, they feel that.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
When we are cluttered, or when we are, I don't know, kind of dirty channels, really. Like when we are doing our own inner work, then we're dirty channels. And what we give out is not as clear. It's more murky. It's less impactful. They get less from it. So it serves no one.
That's a really good point. It's like the vision I got was, you turn on like an old TV channel, and where you had to like foil, I don't know, we stole cable back in the day. But anyway, but you had to turn the channel, and it would be, just that grainy texture. It's like that. And that's what you are. And that's what I was feeling like. I wasn't able to channel. I wasn't really able to tap in even to myself. And that's not a good feeling when you've spent a lifetime being so tapped in. It's like, it was kind of a relief initially. And then I was like, uh-oh, wait a minute, where to go? But it's because I was embarking on this journey that I didn't realize at the time, that I think many people are embarking on, again, in different places and facets in their own lives. And it was to change me. And, but it's not, there's change. And then there's also me just, embracing who I am, my quirky side, my funny side. I don't care anymore what people think. I don't care if it looks crazy. I don't care. And that's the most freeing thing in the world. It's just to be yourself and to be able to show the world, this is me. I'm a goofball. I can't always be serious. I can't. And nor should we. I don't think we could survive this spiritual journey, this ascension journey, without some humor, without, some form of an outlet whatever that is. I love to make people laugh. I enjoy making people laugh. And if I can crack a joke at, the journey or something else, I'm going to, because come on, like we've got it. We've got to get through this, and let's do it in a way that brings a little lightheartedness to the journey. My guides are also really quirky and funny. So sometimes, if I'm being too serious, I get like hey, you've got to, this is how you're going to, channel that energy. And so I'm like, okay, so, I don't know, I went off on a tangent there, but basically just embrace where you are and who you are and what you're feeling right now. I think it's a really authentic time for a lot of people if you choose to embrace it.
Yeah, that's the thing. And it's just not easy.
No, but it's so rewarding. It's so incredibly rewarding. And one of the gifts that I've taken from, being on the journey and from meeting that individual is the ability to really step back and see myself, in different situations and how I was interacting. And like I was able to see myself through his eyes, which was really beautiful. And it wasn't, well, then it wasn't beautiful, but then it was, and then it wasn't, but there were times where it was really beautiful and I was able to go, oh, wow, and and there's so many other gifts. Like, don't get me wrong, guys. There's so many other gifts that I've taken from meeting that person. I don't regret meeting that individual. He's an ascension partner. He's an activation partner, and he's helped me tremendously. And I don't think I'd be here. I know I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for him, not having this conversation. So I'm grateful, but again, I'm very detached from the human. I'm very detached from the label, but I'm grateful for the experience that I was given and the time and the opportunity that I had. However, I do think that I would choose somebody in something very different this go around, very different experience. So it's all about what you're calling in, what you're choosing to accept. So what are you calling in right now? What are you calling into your life? What does that look like? What will you tolerate? What are your boundaries? And I think that boundaries go hand in hand with our value systems.
Yes, but I was in a class, I don't know, a couple of years ago. It was actually right about the time that everything shut down. And it was a class about boundaries, which I desperately needed. And in it, we talked about values. And I was like, oh, holy crap, I don't know what mine are. Like, if you ask me what I value, like, for one, I never contemplated the fact that my values in one relationship would be different from my values in another relationship. Like, what I value with my parental relationship is different than what I value in a romantic relationship, different than what I value in a friendship. Never considered that, but also had never sat there and said, what is it I actually truly value? What is definitely required for me to have a healthy interaction or for me to feel safe within a particular relationship? Never considered it. And then the fact that I had never considered it just blew my mind. So that's not necessarily an easy thing either. But if you don't know what your values are, then how do you know how to protect them? How do you know how to stand up for them? So like there's some groundwork that I had to do just in order to function, in a semi-healthy fashion in a world that didn't make me feel all that safe. So it was a really interesting journey. It was a really interesting class and very helpful. And I think that there's a lot to it, because if you don't know what you value, then how do you know what you want to create? And sometimes you can work backwards, like I want to create this. So clearly, I value this, this, and this.
Sure.
So sometimes there's a way to wiggle from either end and fill in holes. But, if you want to create a healthy relationship, well, what does healthy even mean for you? And, in that relationship, let's say a romantic relationship, like what are your non-negotiables? What is genuinely required for you to be over the moon with somebody, with a relationship with somebody? Like, do we even know? I had never considered it. I mean, I'd gotten married and had kids and gotten a divorce and never even considered what I actually wanted in a relationship.
Wow.
In retrospect, not my best choice, but
I think most people watching this can say the same thing.
But we don't teach that. We don't teach
Right.
that. We just teach, oh, this person thinks you're cute and you think they're cute, then have at it.
And you've got butterflies, which aren't necessarily a very good indicator of a healthy relationship, but that's another story. That's another topic. But yeah, you're right. We're not taught values. There's no pyramid of value systems that we're taught in school. Instead, we're taught, what foods to eat, or we're taught, science, math, reading, etc. But we're not taught about ourselves. So then we don't know we're not taught what a healthy relationship looks like. And it's often not patterned in our parents.
It's not generally something that we've seen modeled.
No, most people haven't. And I think, for a long time, I thought I had this partridge family. I was like, oh, my family's perfect. Far from it. So my 20s were full of just grief and me realizing there was a lot of unhealthy patterning. There was a lot of unhealthy behaviors coming from myself and other members of the family, all of us. And there was so much, and then my 30s were spent, repairing and being really honest and coming to terms with that, and repairing my relationship with self, repairing my relationship with family. And I just think that can take years or decades, because, that's your family of origin. That's your identification system. And when that, when you suddenly realize there's a rift in that, you're like, oh my God. I was mind blown when I realized, what the dynamics actually were, and that they weren't actually healthy. When I remember a therapist pointing it out, and I was like, wait, that's not normal. I thought it was normal.
Right.
No, that's not normal. That's not healthy. Okay. So that was my groundwork. But if we don't identify what we need, you're right. How can we have a boundary? We can't, because we don't even know what we'll tolerate and what we won't. And then suddenly someone walks all over you and you get pissed. But really, you're mad at yourself because you didn't establish a boundary with that person. So you're mad at them, but then the anger comes back at yourself, because you're the one, human beings, our nature is to get away with whatever people will allow us to get away with. So if someone doesn't have clear boundaries, you might be more apt to step over them because, well, there's no boundary there. So I think that's probably the first step for a lot of people on this journey, is identify your boundaries, or identify your values, your value system.
So that you can learn what you want to protect, and then you learn how to protect it.
It's a whole system. It's not, and it can be very uncomfortable, can be, it can bring up a lot, because it's going to bring you back to your childhood. What are my values? It's going to bring you back to mom and dad. Or whoever raised you. It's going to bring you back to that place of being vulnerable.
And the thing that I found, which is we so often adopt values and value systems from our parents.
Sure.
And so when you get to a point where you start looking at that, you're like, oh shit. Because if I say, oh, whoa, this is not true for me, you then have to make them wrong. And that's really uncomfortable. And I finally got to a point where I was like, okay, well, they're on a journey just like me. Nobody said that they had it figured out. Certainly not at the time they were raising me. So it's okay that I can love them. I can respect them. I can be grateful for all the things and disagree with what they have to say, or what their value stance is in this particular area. Doesn't mean I love them less, or that they're not fantastic people. And so that's a really interesting spot that I didn't expect to come across, but I did, because I'm different than my parents, and I do value things, that maybe they don't, or there are things they value that I don't. And so I had to do the little internal peace part on that, because I respect both of my parents and I love them a great deal. And I didn't want them to be wrong. But my having a different stance didn't mean they were wrong. It just meant we were different.
Yeah. So it's not about anybody being right then. It's just about, I think, tolerance and acceptance of just different perspective, different lenses. Kind of circles back to what we're talking about with this whole journey. My perspective, I have on different lenses right now than I had before. That's all. That's really all that changed. It's not a big deal, and it's a big deal all in one. And my my life has changed as a result of that. Especially, the way I think about the future has shifted and changed. But it's also opening doors and creating opportunities. And I want people to feel like they have opportunities, because a lot of times you feel stuck on this journey. You feel like you are told, I don't know if you know this one, but you are told when you're on the twin flame journey, you cannot get off of it ever. You are told you're stuck on this. This is it. Enjoy the ride. And honestly, I had panic attacks. I've never shared this with anyone. I've had panic attacks over that at night where I couldn't fucking sleep because I thought, oh my God, there's no way off of this. I just have to endure this. Even if this person chooses not to be with me, I have to sit here and be in love with them for the rest of my life and yearn for them. And no way. I was like, there's gotta be a way. So anxiety inducing, depression inducing, you name it, very unhealthy. And I was in that for like a solid year. I mean, it was horrendous. And I kind of just, I shared it with a few of my friends who are on the journey, but nobody else knows about it. I've never shared it publicly like this. And I think, again, it's important to talk about this, because if you're in that place where it's causing you this much fear, anxiety, depression, it needs to be brought up. It needs to be talked about. This is not healthy. It's not normal. And I literally felt like, you go to the park. I went to the park a lot as a kid with my dad because I was always like hanging on something. And so, that thing that spins around and you have to hold on to it and someone can spin you. Well, I loved that. And I was like, Dad, faster, faster. And that's what it felt like. And I felt like I was on one of those and I was just like, I couldn't get off of it. And I was hanging on for dear life and I was fucking miserable, but that I'm stuck here doing this dance with this person who doesn't even want to be doing it with me. And I thought, this is no way to live. So I, like a year and a half, crawled out of that space. And finally I've emerged and realized you choose there are so many possibilities, limitless possibilities in this multiverse. You choose your life. You choose your label or unlabel. You choose your circumstances to a certain degree. You choose it. This is your story. Why make it one where you feel like you're in prison or confined or stuck? Why do that to yourself? I can't fathom that now. Like that place that I was in, I can't fathom being there again or ever wanting to be in that place again mentally. It was terrible.
Yeah, well, life is choices, and I don't think I would fare well with something. I would feel like the Wicked Witch after the house falls on her. You're like stuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the feet hanging out, like yeah,
right before they curl up. But yeah,
yeah. I mean, it was a stuck. That's the best way to describe it, is a stuck feeling. I just felt stuck forever. Like this was for eternity. I thought, I can't even get off of this, because even when I die, like if this is my soul, but truly, let's say that is my soul walking around in another body. Let him live his life to its fullest so that my soul experiences everything the soul came here to experience. But that's why it's so important to let go of that person, let go of that person in the flesh and come back to you. You come back to source, come back to you. Don't make that person your God. It's just, and there's so much information out there on the twin flame journey. There's so much you can spend hours at night to talk about going down a rabbit hole. Just Google twin flame and you're like, and there's YouTube videos, and then there's cards, and then there's astrology for it. And then there's just, medium articles about it, like you name it, Cosmo articles, everyone's talking about it. But few people, I think, really have an understanding, of the spiritual aspect. They're like, oh yeah, it's like the Notebook. It's like, no, not really. Not really at all. And honestly, if somebody is searching for that partner, search for a soulmate. Like if you're going to search at all, search for a soulmate. Soulmates will do work with you. Soulmates, if you want to, give a label, like somebody who wants to partner with you, who wants to show up for you. If you want to get married, they want to get married. If you want to have kids, they want to have kids. If you want to sail around the world, they want to sail around the world. Find that person who complements you where you're at. rather than wedging yourself into a label that makes you miserable or that hurts you or breaks your heart over and over again. Or the doggies fighting.
Well, they heard my son come up, and so they wanted
Aw.
to go see what was happening. It's very important that they alert me to all of the things that might, potentially impact me.
That's right. Any potential dangers, they're on it. I love
So, no, I agree. A soulmate sounds much more compatible. There's the twin flame just seems like a lot of discord, a lot of pull.
Yes, exactly. That's it. It's push pull, push pull. I love you. I don't want to be with you. Oh, I can't live without you. I'm not going to talk to you. It's so.
But there are people that love that. There are people that feed off of it. But it's easy to become addicted to the cascade of, well, the pain too, but the cascade of emotions, the cascade of nervous system effects,
uncertainty.
Yeah, all of that stuff that happens in a push pull, or in a drama filled, relationship.
That's a really good point. So I wonder if it actually is an addiction. On a physical level, is it an addiction? Like you could be addicted to opioids or whatever, alcohol.
I mean,
is it an addiction?
We get addicted to the hit we get from picking up a phone and checking messages. We get addicted to, I mean, I think anything can be addictive.
You're right. I think there's a lot of people that could possibly be addicted to it's the excitement. I remember after, being out of touch for a few weeks, and then I'd get a ding on my phone and I'd run and it would be him. And I was like, oh, and it was so exciting. You're like, oh my gosh, he does love me. He does care. And then it would start a new cycle. And then he'd drop off the map a bit, again. And it's like the push pull. He even called it the push pull. But I think he actually enjoyed the push pull. I think there was an element of that he enjoyed, not being, like keeping me on my toes. And then when I recognized what was going on, I'm like, wait, this is not how I want to live. This is not a kind of relationship I want to have. I don't want to wonder if I'm going to hear from you. I don't want to wonder where I stand with you. This is not healthy. So how, like, in what context could it actually be healthy?
That's such a subjective question, because I don't think that your experience is everyone's experience. It may be the majority
definitely not
experience, but there are bound to be people out there who have healthy interaction with whomever it is they term their twin flame.
Sure.
Healthy,
to some degree.
Healthy in the most common sense of the term. So I don't know. I don't know that I could even answer when is it healthy.
Excuse me.
Honestly, it's a question of, are you looking at what you're choosing, like, and acknowledging to yourself what you're choosing, whatever it may be, whether it's fun or good, or whether it lets you off the hook for trying to find somebody who is available, or whatever it is. Are you looking at it clearly and making a true conscious choice that that's what you want to do? And I think that that's the question that should hold true for any relationship, whether you think it's a twin flame or not. Are you being honest with yourself about what this is? And do you still want to choose it once you get honest? And some people will say yes. Like, I don't think this is very healthy for me, but I have a lot of fun doing it and I'm going to stick with this, and more power to you. As long as someone's making a conscious choice.
Agreed.
It's when we ostrich and don't look at the things that we know are kind of over here. But
you give me so many visuals. It's fantastic, because I'm a visual person. So now I have the ostrich.
Right. So I think that's when it's dangerous, when we refuse to acknowledge or refuse to look at things because we don't want the answer. And I've been there. There are times when I have been in situations where I refuse to look at them clearly because I had kind of an idea of what the answer was going to be, and I wasn't prepared to act on that. So I just pretended that that didn't exist. And it wasn't until I was ready to look at it that I could look at it.
Mm.
And it's just a matter of being wherever you are, you know, and that's fine. Everybody's got their spot.
Mm. Yeah. If you know that if you bring your head up out of the ground and you look around and you know you're not going to like what you see, you're going to be tempted to put your head back down in the sand and just
Yeah.
play that out. And I think a lot of people in whatever relationship are just playing that out, kind of, well, I mean, it's okay because I'm getting some of my needs met.
Mhm.
Isn't that better? So I had a friend, she said, well, I'm getting some of my needs met. Isn't that better than getting none? And I go, no, I don't think so, because you could be meeting those needs yourself. So I don't know if that works for you, it works for you.
Mhm.
But she started to realize this isn't working for me. It worked for a certain amount of time, that this person was unavailable, attached to someone else. And then suddenly it no longer works for you because you realize your needs are not met. Some big major needs are not being met. So I think, again, that's the honesty factor. And that's a tough one, because to be that honest with yourself, to know that you might have to let go of this person or that thing or that belief, it's really hard. It would be easier to just keep your head buried in the sand and keep doing what you're doing. But I know there was always this nagging feeling for me of, like, this just isn't enough. This just isn't enough. It was like cyclical. It would just, this isn't enough. This isn't enough. And, the realization of that, and then me being really raw and honest with myself, like, this just isn't enough. I had never said that out loud. I had never actually acknowledged that with other men. I would just take it because I was like, I'll take what I can get, because I didn't think I was worthy of receiving more. So the moment I realized with this individual, he helped me see my worth, that I'm worthy of so much more than the crumbs that you're able to give me. Whether you want to give me more or not, it doesn't matter, because you're not giving them. You're not able to give that. And that's what I need in a relationship. If I'm going to be in a relationship, this is what I need. So I found out what my values were. I found out what my deal breakers were in a relationship, and looked inside of this connection with this person, was like, no, that's not being met. That's not being met. Maybe like one or two was being met, but a lot of the major ones were not. And that's when I knew it was time to go. Like, I had to leave. And there was nothing more powerful than that moment. I remember exactly where I was. I was running stadiums. It was a really hot day, but it was almost like torturing myself, because I was like so back and forth with this decision. So I took myself out. I was like 95 degrees out, in Florida heat, and I'm running stadiums. And I called my friend, bawling my eyes out. And I was like, and she was so supportive, but she's like, you have to do what you have to do. I support you either way. And I made the decision, and I made the phone call, and I was bawling for like hours, just sitting there in the heat. But I knew that the decision was the right one. I felt it in my bones and my cells. It was like, I made the decision for me and my ancestors and everyone who came before, everyone who came after. That's how major that feeling was, of choosing myself. That's how you know you're choosing yourself. It will feel major. If you've never done it before and you suddenly do it, it will feel like a breakthrough. Sorry, I got a phone call, guys. But it will feel huge. It will feel major, and you will know it. And then you can't undo that. You can't go back to suddenly not choosing yourself after that. You have to just continue to choose yourself from that point forward, because now you know what it feels like, and you know how to do it, and you know that you're strong enough and capable enough of doing it. Do you remember the first time that you chose yourself?
Yeah, I thought I was going to throw up. It's not really a lot of fun, but it is life altering. And for me, it was a little different because I had kids, and honestly, it was like, what am I modeling for them? Is this what I want them to aim for?
Mm.
And I was like, God, no. you know, this might be acceptable for me. Like this is okay, you know, fine. But like, I want them to have better than this. And how are they going to know that better than this is even an option? Unless it's modeled for them by the people that, you know, love them most, the people that are, you know, helping them grow. And so honestly, I don't know so much that I chose myself, although I ultimately did, but I'm not sure that I believed enough in me at that point to choose myself, but I believed enough in them to choose myself.
Okay.
So it was a little different. And then there were times after that I had to go, oh, no, like this is necessary and I can do this. And it required a whole lot of self-talk and a whole lot of like putting on my bitch shoes and just like walking the walk. But it is life altering, and you can't go back. Once you pull your head out of the sand, like it's done.
Yeah.
Because it's so uncomfortable to try to live inside the confines.
Yep. So uncomfortable.
Yeah, you can't do it.
I think it's almost like for me, it felt like my ancestors literally put like an X in the sand and were like, no, like there is no going back from this point. That door is closed. I mean, I felt it. I wish I could bring you guys, you know, inside of me to that point so you could feel what I felt, but I felt the shift. And it's like, and he said to me, he was like really quiet. He's like, well, I can't fault you for choosing yourself. I can never fault you for choosing yourself. He knew it was right. I knew it was right. Didn't make it any less hard. Didn't mean my heart broke any less, but there was just no other choice. It was like that or bust. Because I had spent a lifetime not choosing myself and a lifetime saying yes to things I meant no to, you know, especially when it came to relationships. Oh, I'm fine with it. Oh, you don't want a girlfriend? I don't really want a boyfriend either. I'm the cool chick. I wasn't the cool chick. I wanted a boyfriend. I wanted to be in a relationship, but I would choose these men who were unavailable because of the wounds that I had. And then I would, you know, put up with and tolerate things that went against my value system. So it was a lifetime of not choosing myself that led me to that moment of finally choosing myself. And it was easy with him for some reason. It was just easy to choose myself and easy to know that I wasn't going to go back. So if anyone out there is, you know, not floundering, it's not the right word, but is, you know, sort of like going through this like self-discovery process of trying to choose yourself, you can do it. You're brave enough, you're bold enough, you're courageous enough, you're strong enough to do it. And whether, like Whitney said, it's a situation where it's going to be for the kids, but ultimately for you as well, whether it's you're doing it solely for yourself, maybe it's for whatever the reason. It could be a million different reasons that you're choosing yourself, but you are capable of doing it. And it's going to rock your world. It's going to rock the boat. It's going to rock other people's worlds, guaranteed. But if you choose yourself, everything else will start to fall into place. Even if it seems like everything will fall apart first, probably. Right? Because
it's good for me, but like, I wouldn't undo it for all the tea in China. Like it was, absolutely the best thing. And I'm much more expansive now. I'm much closer to the end of love instead of fear. And that was really what I was sticking for, was the fear. And now a lot of times that's what it comes down to, is like, which one makes me feel expansive, which choice, which direction, which thing. And so I do a lot of just stopping and going, okay, how do I feel? Like, how does my body actually feel? My muscles, you know, like, am I, that's, you know, how do I feel?
Yeah.
Because that's, for me, what has been my truest guide. Because nobody can tell me what I feel other than me. And so I check in a lot, and I'm like, oh, no, this would be easier, or this, like, logically is the choice, but yeah, Can't do it.
Looks good on paper.
Yeah, but it's just not it.
Yeah.
And so I do things that people are like, I don't get that. That doesn't, and I'm like, I know, but it feels right. And I never thought I'd be a person that's like, oh no, but it feels right. Because that sounds really intangible. And I like tangibles. I like logic. I like all of that. But I have to go with what feels right. And what feels right now may not be the thing that feels right in, a month or 2 months or 4 years.
But you're allowed to change.
Yeah,
you are allowed to change your mind.
I have to check in on a regular basis.
Yeah. And I would encourage everyone watching this at any point in time, whenever you're watching this, check in, do it right now, have a moment, close your eyes and check in with how you're feeling. You start with small decisions like, what do I want for dinner? Check in to see, sometimes you need greens, sometimes you need protein, sometimes you need carbs, sometimes maybe you need dessert for dinner. I don't know. Check in, when you're going to take a trip, check in and see, does this feel right? Is this aligned? When you're going to hang out with somebody or meet somebody for the first time, there's, so many different opportunities to check in with yourself and see how you're feeling, so that you don't get yourself into a situation where you're like, oh, why am I here? And then again, you become resentful, right? Because then you feel like you're wasting your time, or you'd rather be at home watching Netflix, or, whatever the case. And you say yes when you mean no. And I think that that's a huge problem with society and the population is like, you say yes, but you mean no.
Yeah. No is a complete sentence.
Without an explanation.
Exactly. It is okay to say no. No, but thank you.
Yeah. There's a polite, I think we're taught that saying no is rude or selfish or disrespectful. Especially when you're invited to a social function, you're invited out, you say no, or maybe you cancel at the last minute because you know what? Your body says, hey, I need to rest. And get yourself friends who understand that. Get yourself friends who understand, you know what? I when I said yes, I meant it, but now my body's saying I need to rest. And it actually is going to, and then, I know for me, like if I push myself, I will get sick. And I know, now I know you pushed yourself, you're going to get sick. So if I say yes, and then I have to say no at a later point in time, it's because I'm listening to my body. And not everyone is going to understand that. And that's okay. Because not everyone's listening to their body or listening to their inner GPS. Some people are just going based on logic.
I try really hard to listen to myself, and I still fall short often. It's a continual practice.
Yeah, that's true. Well, because we get caught up in all the day-to-day stuff, being moms or being aunts or being pet moms or being a career woman or whatever it is, like men, women, whatever it is, whatever we're being caught up in, day-to-day stuff, day-to-day chores. And you forget that you haven't taken a deep breath that day. You haven't stopped to come up for air. You haven't stopped to check in. And then suddenly you're in traffic and you're like having a panic attack and you're like, oh, I guess I'll check in. Mm-hmm. I'm stressed. But if you had checked in maybe before that, multiple times before that point in the day, you might have found, hey, I can manage this, so that when you are stuck in traffic, you're like, oh, okay, I got this. But because you didn't check in, a series of events happen, and now suddenly you're having a stress moment. It's just simple things. Take a deep breath, check in. These are simple things, but we don't do them. They're not a priority. Other things become the priority.
Yes.
So how do you feel about pulling a few cards?
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I would say let that happen, but who knows what they're saying.
You'd say what? Oh, I guys, I apologize. If anyone, please leave a comment, not in the live section, but in the actual comment section, so that we can see it, that we can figure out how to see the comments, because the only way I could figure it out is to go off the screen and then go back to YouTube. And then I didn't know if I could get back on. So if someone wants to email me or direct us, that would be much appreciated. We'll get there. Wow, Whitney, it's almost 8 o'clock.
Is it? I haven't even
Time
looked.
flew. Yeah, I just looked. Time went really fast. It's a good thing. If you guys have questions, leave them in the comment box. We will
Yes,
address them
please.
for you. Sorry that we weren't able to catch them live. We're going to get there. Oh. Oh, that's good. So I've got the Work Your Light Oracle, and I got align your life. What is aligned? What is not aligned, or what needs to change? And I got mirror, who or what is triggering you, which is so timely for what we were talking about today. So, mirror work, mirror exercises. What's a great mirror exercise, to go on a little tangent here, is see if you can look in the mirror and tell yourself that you love yourself. Yes. It is hard. For the years, I could not do it with a straight face. For years, I just couldn't do it. And then so I was working with a healer years ago, like 10, 15 years ago. And she said, well, then just tell yourself that you like yourself. And I was like, okay, that's easier. But it took me years to be able to work up to being able to say, I love you. And I finally did it the other day. And I meant it. And I didn't have to look away, and I didn't have to laugh or crack a smile or make a joke to myself. I just meant it. So that's a good mirror exercise to see how you feel when you tell yourself that you love yourself. No, my cat's going crazy, and I don't know if you guys can hear him, but I am coming. I'll just be a few more minutes, please, sir.
So I am working with the Animal Apothecary deck, which I actually love. And I got the Otter, Surrender to Receive. So the otter floats on its back in this totally like vulnerable position, right? Totally exposed. No clue what's going on underneath it in the currents underneath. And the whole message is the things that you're holding on to, like this. You got to just trust the journey, trust the ebb and flow, tap into the whole feminine energy of flexibility and flow, and trust that the universe is going to give you exactly what you need. But you have to first let go of whatever it is that you're holding on to so tightly. And then the second one I got is the crow, face your fear. And so the crow is the one who hangs out in the woods and lets everybody else know, much like my little dogs, that there is something coming. And we often stay in this state of victimhood or patterning because of whatever has occurred in our past. And we stick with this particular path because we're scared. We don't know what else is out there. And we are holding on to, so many of us holding on to past trauma or past stuff. And a lot of it's not necessarily even ours, like ancestral, because we're energetic beings. So we get to carry the stuff that our ancestors dealt with. There's even like scientific studies that show how much of that we truly carry. But with the crow, you've got like your pain and your experiences are the key that's going to unlock all of this, because the crow is the alchemist. Okay, so your particular story is your key out. Your particular experiences with crow medicine, those can be transmuted into your strengths. Those can be the things that open the door for you. So this is why I love all of the stuff that I've been through, because it's a whole lot of darkness and it's given me innumerable gifts. There's so much of who I am that I would not be without all of the things, without all of the situations, all of the choices that I made that led me into dark places. So I'm so grateful for that, because all of the light that I get to be is because I spent so much time in the dark. And I don't know how to be anything other than grateful for that, because I love where I am. And I'm glad that I'm choosing not to be where I was. And that's the trick that anybody gets to do is actually go back and surrender into all of the shit. And that will be the way out.
Mm. Yeah. Wow. So we got crow, otter, align your life, and mirror. Those are some heavy hitting messages.
Yes.
Well, otter is more lighthearted energy, but it's like, be vulnerable, like embrace life, embrace your experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, and
expansive.
Yeah. So you know what I do when I was teaching mindfulness workshops, I worked with corporations like 6 years back, and I would have them, and everyone would I love to make people uncomfortable. I realized because I knew growth was going to happen, and it's a corporate setting, and I would come in yoga clothes sometimes, because I was teaching yoga there. And then other times I'd be dressed up, but I would have them, do this exercise. And I'm like, and I have like Inspector Gadget arms. I have this huge wingspan for my body type. So I was like, all right, take your arms, guys, and you're going to take up space. And everyone was like, and I would watch people, like, I could tell that they just wanted to just curl into themselves. And they're like, and then, so some of them, it was like, I would have to kind of come over and just gently help pry them open, like shoulders back, chest open, breathing with your diaphragm. Like lift the chest, open the heart, and, open the throat. And it was like this whole new world. And it was so uncomfortable because we're so used to hiding ourselves. We're so used to not only sitting like this, but energetically, what does this say when we're like this, right? Think about it, or like, hair, like there's so many ways that we can protect ourselves. And so start to check in with even your posture, like check in with your posture. Are you slumping, like
Yes.
chest out? And as women also, especially if you're big busted, right? You may have, I've heard this from both my uncle, who's a massage therapist, and my friend who's rehabbing my shoulder. It's like, women with bigger chests tend to we do this because we didn't want to be seen when we were starting to develop. So we'd hide ourselves. I still find myself doing this sometimes in public. So, and that creates, this whole syndrome here. It creates a whole slew of issues, which probably led to my frozen shoulder. So it's important, chest out, shoulders back, take a deep breath. You check in with your breath during the day, check in with your posture, check in with your neck, your jaw, move your body. And get comfortable in that body, because the body is housing your soul. It's housing your being. So let's get comfortable with the body. Let's hate it a little less. Let's love it a little more. And take up space. Take up space, And honestly, like for anybody who, has left a comment that's unsavory, some of you have your own YouTube channels. Take that energy and put it into your own channel and make something, do something that's going to better yourself and better the world and help others. Like take that energy and use it to your good. I even thought about, there's one person in particular, I still might, she has like love meditations, and she left some unsavory comments. And I thought, you know what? She doesn't have any content on her channel. Let's go follow her. Let's give her some love. Let's give her some support. Let's help her channel that energy into something that's productive for her and for other people. Who knows what that could create? Who knows what that could become? Like, let's pour our energy instead of, worrying about what someone else is doing over here in their corner of the world. Let's pour our energy into creating content that's going to help other people, because we're all content creators right now. Today's world is content creators, content creation and content absorption, right? It's what we're doing right now in small bits. TikTok and Instagram, everything's a reel now. Everything's, YouTube shorts. We're consuming content. So be a content consumer wisely, but be a content creator wisely, and take that energy and just pour it into the world in a good way, like in a productive manner. That's what we should all be doing. Don't worry about what I'm doing over here. It doesn't, what I'm doing is what I'm doing. What you're doing is what you're doing. And I think, God, there's just so much energy that goes into hate, or that goes into criticism, take that and pour it into something else, into another channel. So that's my 2 cents on that. I hope you guys have a wonderful Saturday, and I hope we've given you lots to think about. We're sorry that we couldn't do the Q&A. Someone please help us.
We're going to figure it out.
And I know it can't be that difficult. It really can't be. So please let us know or email me, please help.
And thank you.
Buy you a Starbucks. Yeah. Thank you guys. Have a great night. We'll see you again soon. Okay.
Bye.
Bye guys.